Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 6 Things That We Learned from Bradford City 1 at Sutton United 0. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you go trying to 80 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already, with that post notification bell on, it's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below. Let us know down below your thoughts on our 6 talking points from today's video. I am once again joined by Korban, and we'll start out then with box number 1. It is a green box for Sam Stubs. Now, when the team came out, we saw Kevin McDonald on the bench. We saw 4 centre halves in the starting 11. I think pretty much everyone would have assumed Jonathan Tompkinson would be the man occupying that central midfield role next to Alex Gilliard, because he is probably our best ball player. He's got the most agility, and I feel like he would have been the best natural fit in there. But Sam Stubs, for the first 70 minutes or so, was playing in central midfield, a position he's confirmed he's never ever played in before, and he only knew he was playing there on match day. He knew he was obviously in the squad, but he only knew he was actually playing in central midfield come the Saturday morning, which has clearly been a bold move, but I think it worked. I would have been disappointed if that was the choice against maybe a better passing team, but with Sutton, they're very direct. They want to get the ball up to the 2 strikers in angle, who likes to pin and use his body to twist and turn away from defenders, and it can be quite hard to get off if you don't have a screen in front of him. And obviously big Harry Smith up front as well. I thought at times our defenders did struggle when they were 1v1 against him, but when we doubled up, I thought they did a pretty good job, and Stubbs was in there just to win the ball back, keep things simple. And there were a few times where he actually got the ball down and played quite nicely. He was making them forward runs as well, which at times maybe he might have got a potential nosebleed from. But I remember specifically once in the first half, he picked the ball up, rolled away from one, dribbled past the second, and this is Sam Stubs we are talking about. You know, he's not the quickest, he's not got the most agility, but he beat 2 players, got the ball into the box, and it was unfortunately saved by the goalkeeper. But yeah, like I say, it was a massive surprise to see him in central midfield, with obviously Smallwood suspended, and we didn't get in another central midfielder in January. Walker and Patterson both injured. McDonald, we know about his fitness issues. I thought McDonald would have started with him coming off quite early in the game against MK Dons. Maybe we're saving him more for Tuesday night. I'm not really too sure. But Stubbs, for me, for the first 70 minutes, considering that he's playing in a position he's never played before, I wouldn't really say he looks out of place. Yes, at times he got caught on the ball a little bit, but I think that's not really helped by our pitch. But overall, I thought he had a really, really solid performance in central midfield for the first 70 minutes. And then when he moved on into centre half, I think Matty Platt got some sort of a knock. It doesn't sound too serious, and he should hopefully be back for Wednesday night as well. When Stubbs moved into the middle of the back three, I thought, again, overall, pretty solid in there. There was a couple of occasions where I feel like if we had Platt, they might have not got the ball in behind, but I feel like in terms of a physical battle, Stubbs deals with the taller strikers very well, in my opinion. And overall, a really, really impressive performance from him. I wouldn't say he was my man of the match, but I'd say considering he played in a position he's never played before, and it's not like you're putting a centre half right back, for example. You know, it is a completely different game when you're in central midfield. You need to be a lot fitter. You need to be a lot smarter on the ball. The game is a lot quicker. I thought he did a really, really good job in there. Yes, it's against bottom of the league, but he still didn't look out of place playing in that position. So I'm going with the green box for Sam Stubbs. He was excellent in midfield.
Yeah, I thought with Blackpool Pleasure Beach, for just not just because of the sandy pitch, but there's a donkey running through midfield every few seconds to overload into a box. But, you know, it worked. He had a pretty good performance. He held the ball up in midfield, which helped us win a few fouls. I think there were times where I'm a bit concerned with him naturally dropping into the back 5, making it a back 6, which allowed them to have a few shots off around the edge of the area because we couldn't get back out to them. But when it's Sutton, you know, they didn't really like threaten him from that range, and that's some of it. I think you've got to look at the game and it only being 1-0, and a few people criticising the performance. But we were playing against a Sutton side that you'd expect to win. But when you've got Stubbs playing in midfield, you've got Liam Rideout coming in and left wing back, who's not a left wing back and he's barely a left back, let's be honest. And, you know, Jake Young were missing from the bench. You know, I know that he hasn't really been making an impact recently, but when an opposition comes to Valley Parade and they look to the bench and they see Adam Wilson hasn't played since Barrow for 5 minutes, they see Bobby Poynton, who to them is just a youth product who hasn't played much, and Wadsworth, you know, but when they see Jake Young there, he's got 16 goals, and they think, right, we've got to be on it because they can bring him on. And he adds a bit more pace to the game. So I think that's another big miss. And Richie Smallwood as well, nearly forgotten. Kevin McDonald in midfield. So you're missing a lot of big players who have been, you know, influential in our recent run, and we've still got over the line. And Sam Stubbs showed a committed performance, showed character, and I think that's something that you're going to get from him. He's got that natural leadership and natural experience, because you look at him and you think he's about 30 odd, and yet I think he's 24. You know, he buys free kicks and he reads the game well, intercepts a lot. He won the most duels in the game as well, like you say there. When you're playing against Angle and Smith, he helped us dominate them in the air from corners. We didn't really look like Contena apart from one. So really steady, dependable performance from Sam Stubbs, and they're the type you need when players are coming in having not played much.
Yeah, Sam Stubbs, he's a top-class professional. Even though he's not played too much recently, you know, some players might get the ump a little bit, might have potentially asked for a move in January when he wasn't in and around the team in that November, December period, but he's kept himself professional, and he's very similar to the likes of Halliday, Gilead, Walker. You can put him in any position and they're going to give you 110%. They're not going to sulk. They're not going to let their heads go down. He's a real leader in there. You know, you can even hear it up in the stands when he's telling players where they need to be, what they need to do, and that's him playing out of position. I think you make a good point, though. There was a few occasions where he did drop into the centre of defence. Probably it was just a natural thing to do when he's got his back to his own goal and he's looking out, and he might not necessarily known exactly where to be, but I thought on the whole it was a pretty solid performance. So we'll move on then to box number 2. It is a yellow box for Andy Cook. Now, we won the match, so maybe this one is a little bit generous, but it's more of maybe an orange box for Andy Cook, because I thought he's overall play for a start wasn't awful. There were a few times where I felt like he could have done better, and I felt like as more time was going on, when it was 1-0 and we were just trying to see the game out as 1-0, we weren't really going for the second goal. Yes, we had some chances, but we weren't desperate to go and get that second goal. I feel like Cook was getting frustrated when the ball kept getting hit into the corners and they were going out for throw-ins and all that sort of stuff. But I thought his overall play wasn't great, wasn't poor though. His finishing was disappointing though. He should have had at least 2 yesterday. The first one where Halliday cuts it back to him, I think, and he leans back and the ball goes over the bar. It's so disappointing because he had quite a lot of time there. He probably could have even taken a touch. And yeah, that one goes over the bar and you think, right, he'll get the next one. And I'm pretty sure it's Clark-Adore swings in an unbelievable ball. It's right on a plate for Andy Cook. You know, that's the sort of service that he thrives on. And I don't know if he feels like he's already scored. He doesn't really need to do too much because the cross is that perfect. And he doesn't really get much contact on the header. It goes straight at the keeper and he kind of just has to stick an arm out and it just hits him. So disappointing that he didn't score that. He had a half chance as well in the second half where he chopped away from a few defenders and the keeper came out and smothered it. But I feel like his finishing yesterday was quite poor. And over the last couple of games, his finishing instinctively has been pretty decent. And he had 2 instinctive finishes to complete in the game yesterday, and he did fail to do so, which was disappointing. It didn't cost us the game, and that's why it's maybe not a red box, but I feel like on another day you need them ones to be hitting the back of the net. Again, maybe the pressure is slightly off him at the moment with Jake Young being injured, Tyler Smith not really getting a look in, so we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he comes back next week with him being banned on Wednesday night's game, with him being banned for Wednesday night's game against Wickham. He'll be back next week fresh against Barrow, and fingers crossed he can get on the score sheet in that one. But like I say, I was quite disappointed with his finishing, and I wouldn't say his overall play really stood out too much, to be honest.
Yeah, like you say, that is probably a bit complacent because it's a Sutton at home. He's on a pretty decent one, and there's no one who can take his place off the bench, really. You know, Tyler Smith in a big threat to him. Let's be honest. So I think he should have had an hat-trick. The first one, like you say, that is leaning. He's gone for accuracy instead of, you know, sort of power and cutting across it. Although he's blazed it over the bar, it's more of a balloon over the bar than a power shot. And the second one, like you say, he's got to score that because, you know, I think he does think it just goes in if it hits his head. If he gets that chance again, and like I say, if he's playing at a Wrexham at home, and you know he needs to score and it's last minute, I think that goes in for Andy Cook. But I think against Barrow, it's against his former club in it next week, and he gets a week off to energise himself. So hopefully he gets more of those chances to put in the back of the net there. But I did say on, was it Wednesday, I think we did the 6 things we learned for Tuesday's game, and I said he hasn't been getting many chances this season, but I actually had a look after then, and he actually has had more chances this season than last season by the time the season will end, because he's had 107 shots this season. Last season, through the whole course of it, had 120, and I think he's had around 50 headers on goal this season, and he had less headers on goal throughout the whole course of last season. So he's getting loads more chances this year, nearly half the goals, but he's still bagging them in the back of the net. And hopefully, you know, it's not a blip. Hopefully, it's just a little wobble, and he gets back scoring next Saturday.
Yeah, fingers crossed he comes up with another goal against his former club. And Barrow away, that's going to be a very, very tough game for us next week with no Richie Smallwood again. Hopefully Sam Stubbs is not in central midfield in that one because they've got a lot of very energetic midfielders and I feel like they might run us ragged a little bit, but fingers crossed he can come up with another goal in that one. So we'll move on then to box number 3. It's back-to-back green boxes for Clarkador. If you'd have told me maybe 2 months or even 2 weeks ago that come this time that Clarkador would be having back-to-back green boxes, I would have simply not believed you. Again, very positive yesterday from Clarkador. Gets the assist for our goal. So a brilliant through ball to Callum Kavanagh. I feel like he might slightly overhit it, but I feel like it's for the best, really, because it means Kavanagh doesn't really have much option other than to take it first time, unless he tries to take it around the goalkeeper. But it's a brilliant through ball from Clarkador. It splits it perfectly right in between the two centre-halves, and it's a great run from Callum Kavanagh. But Adore had multiple crosses into the box, so he was unlucky not to get a goal contribution from, that what we spoke about there with Andy Cook. The cross that he put in for that chance for Andy Cook was absolutely outstanding. It was perfectly on a plate for him. And I thought defensively a little bit better in this one against Sutton than what he was on Tuesday. There was no silly back passes, which nearly cost us a goal. And it's great to see him finally proving to the fans why he's getting all these chances. And for me, again, definite starter on Wednesday. I feel like against Wycombe, who are defensively quite a big, experienced, physical side, Adore can use his trickery to get at them and take them on, because when he gets 1v1, Clarkador is very, very good, and he normally does beat his man, even though it's pretty obvious that he's going to cut in on that left foot. He actually even sells the crowd sometimes. When you think he is going to shoot, sometimes you can tell when he's going to fake shot, but sometimes when you think he is actually going to shoot, he then fake shots again, and it's really, really baffling, but it works every single time pretty much. And I feel like it's great to see him finally putting in these positive performances where he's not just taking the easy option, which I feel like he has done a lot so far. And I think Graham Alexander touched on it. I think it was pre-match for this one against Sutton, basically saying that Adore wasn't even on the bench in a game recently. I think it might have been Wimbledon at home, and he was basically saying to him that he was going through the motions and he needs to start showing his quality. And I think since then, since he's come back into the side and got his opportunity, even when he came on off the bench against Wrexham, and since then, I think he's been excellent in my opinion. Yes, he's had the odd dopey moment defensively, but going forward he has been very, very positive, and for me personally deserves another green box. He gave a lot of criticism in the matches that he's played before, so now we need to give him his flowers, and it's definitely another green box for Clarkador. Probably my man of the match as well.
Yeah, he was mine as well, because like I said, he's winning over the critics. I think he responded to someone on Twitter when a couple of weeks ago saying why is he starting, or why is he came on either Wrexham or Wimbledon, and he responded to him. But you can when you're backing it up, and when you're proving people wrong, and when people are proving you wrong, the people who have criticised you all their hands up and say, right, keep going and we'll keep praising you. And that's what's happening with Clarkador. And what he's showing recently is a bit more aggression and a bit more defensive ability to track back and to make us much more compact. And he came off in the last couple of games because he didn't feel confident that he would do that, Alexander. But in that last game, what he showed was he was up for it and he's fighting. And like he said there, he showed character to come back and to fight for his place, and now he's keeping it. And whilst he keeps playing like that, that shirt ain't going to be took off him when there's loads of options behind him. Quality players, Jake Young, Tyreek Wright, Walker Patterson out injured, Bobby Poynton, and he's shining above everyone else in the team in a minute because he's simplified his game. You look at that Kavanagh goal, he only takes 2 touches. I think maybe before that call he had with Alexander, he'd probably run into a bit of a cul-de-sac and end up losing the ball because he's doing too much of it. He got the ball, took out his feet, and played the pass because he saw the run. And that's what you want to see. And like you said there, he's showing that more trickery to his game, and he's cut down the fake shots and fake passes, and he's playing for the team, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I think you've got to give Alexander a lot of credit as well, because under Mike Hughes, he was very much ball retention, keep the ball, don't do loads of skills, don't try and take players on really unless you know you're going to beat them. And maybe he had that basically drilled it into his mindset to keep the ball, and he probably been overthinking things at time. But in the first half, there was a moment where he received the ball with his back to goal, quite far away from their penalty area. He had the fullback right up behind him. He had a midfielder coming to press him. Amari Patrick was tracking back as well, and just so casually slotted it through Amari Patrick's legs, and we kept the ball and we kept possession. I mean, Patrick and Angle, they were both absolutely shocking yesterday as well. So it's great that they, every time they come back to Valley Parade, they very, very rarely put on any sort of half-decent display. But Odwa, for me, absolutely brilliant yesterday and thoroughly deserves another green box. So we'll move on then to box number 4. It's a yellow box for Jonathan Tompkinson. I feel like there was a moment in the first half where Tompkinson kind of lost his composure, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of his game. There was a few instances where he lost composure, and our ball retention in the later stages of the game could have been a lot better. And I think there were a few times where Tompkinson gave it away quite cheaply. I think the incident where Tompkinson did originally lose his composure in that first half was when Angle, I think, got the ball. Tompkinson or someone played a poor pass, and Angle was in down the left, and he tried to cut in against Tompkinson and just threw himself to the floor, which was pathetic, really. And Tompkinson gave him a little bit of stick, and then 10 or so minutes later, he ended up picking up a booking for quite a firm challenge, to say the least. And he was always walking a little bit of a tightrope then for the remainder of the game. And there's a few moments in the second half, I remember specifically right near the end, he had the ball in the far corner. I think Halliday and Gilead were, I wouldn't say they were short options, but they were in passing range, and he just went to hoof it straight back, and that allowed Sutton to then get another wave of attack. And I feel like them sort of things for a young defender is, why he's out on loan, because he needs to learn in the dying stages of games how to see things out and just to keep some composure. And I feel like with Tompkinson, he set the standard very, very high. In the games that he's played under Alexander, in a lot of them, he's been excellent for us. And, it's only a yellow box. I thought defensively overall, pretty solid. But there were a few moments where he gave the ball away quite sloppily, quite cheaply as well, which was disappointing to see. But Tompkinson, he's been brilliant for us for the majority of the game. So I'm not going to criticise him too much. And that's why it's a yellow box for me.
Like you say that, it's little things that he needs to improve on. And it's just one bump in the road. He's been fantastic throughout the season, really, since he's come into the team. And it doesn't change your opinion on him. It's just that bit of composure that we were lacking from a few mistakes in the game. And, but there was one moment where it made me, as well as bad as poor as he was, he wasn't really bad, but there was a ball in behind her fence. I think Harry Smith, their striker, latched onto it, and really good save from Walker again. But Tompkinson were breathing down his neck. And if he wasn't there, and you had your Tails or your Stubs in the back line, and Tompkinson wasn't playing like it happened at Swindon and Colchester with balls in behind, they'd score because there's not pressure on him. And he put that pressure on him, and he got back and just put him off a bit, and his shot were a bit more tame, and he didn't have as much time. So that's the difference with having Tompkinson in the back line, and that's why we desperately need him in there. But like I say, he did have instances in the game where he needs to learn from and to be able to remain composed in those stages where maybe his head does get turned a bit, and maybe he's on a yellow card and how to stay composed and see a game out. But like I say, there's big moments where you need your Tompkinsons in the team.
It'll be interesting to see what we do in the summer, because I'm pretty sure it'll be unlikely that we'll get JT back next season. Maybe if we're in League One, he might fancy another loan move, but I think he's definitely League One standard, and it wouldn't even be a bad option off the bench maybe for a Championship side, to be honest with you. Back at Norwich, I'm pretty sure he signed a new long-term contract with them before he joined us on loan. But Timmy Odesina is still at Bradford City, and he barely kicked a football last season. This year he's been out on loan at Woking and has played striker more times than he's played centre-half, and it's not really worked out for him there. But when we signed him, he came with this exceptional reputation from Hartlepool. But again, he's a pacey defender, and you look at the defenders, the centre-half options that we're going to have next season, the only players tied down next season in terms of central defenders are Kieran Kelly, Ash Taylor and Timmy Odesina, I think, off the top of my head. So we're obviously either going to need to tie down Platt, Stubs, etc., or we're going to be in the market once more. And I feel like Odesina has the potential to maybe be that Tompkinson replacement, because we know from his time at Hartlepool, he's a decent defender at this level. He's a good ball player as well. And like I say, I think it will be unlikely that Tompkinson will be back here next season unless we're in League One. And it's great to see that we're finally talking about potentially being back in League One. Only 2 points off the playoffs now, when only 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were looking over our shoulders at a potential relegation battle. So credit to the team for an excellent week, really. You know, 3 really hard games for a number of different reasons. So to pick up 9 points there, the team do deserve a lot of credit. So we'll move on then to the penultimate box of today's video. A man who's been a big part of our success recently. It's another green box at this time for Sam Walker. Didn't have much to do in the game, but the things that he did have to do, he made some really, really impressive saves. You know, he clawed a second phase, I think you would call it, or a second contact of a corner off the line where I think Angle heads it towards goal. It's then headed up and they get the header in and you think, all right, that one's going in the back of the net. And he somehow manages to claw it out. And that was an absolutely exceptional save. And then later on in the 93rd, 94th minute, Tompkinson gets spun. Their striker has an effort on goal. It looks like it's nestling in that bottom corner and Walker sticks out a big right hand to keep it out of the net. And you look at, I know there's been some people disappointed with the comparisons between him and Harry Lewis, but I feel like you've got to make them comparisons because Walker is the replacement for Harry Lewis. And you look at Lewis's performance yesterday at Carlisle, he shipped in 4 goals at home and he was at fault for 3 of them. So I feel like at the time we were all disappointed with the business. You know, Lewis went for a fee where we thought we could maybe get a bit more for him. We've signed Colin Doyle's mate on paper, but if Colin Doyle's got any more mates, I think we should sign him up next season if this is what his scouting range is like. Get rid of Stephen Gent, give Colin Doyle the head of recruitment role because Sam Walker has been very, very good for us over the last couple of weeks and the way he commands that area. It's fantastic to see a goalkeeper who's not glued to his goal line from set pieces. The way he comes out, even if it's 6, 8, 10 yards outside of the goal line, he comes out and he just clears it up so comfortably. And I think that's massive for the defence as well. Having a goalkeeper that they trust in, he's been big for us so far over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully it continues between now and the end of the season. And again, Sam Walker, again, a man of the match contender, but I've gone with a green box on this occasion.
Yeah, I think he's better than Luke at the minute. I'm not too keen on the comparisons because I do like to look at Lewis, and he was a fantastic media personality because I'm sure I've had big personalities that haven't shown it in the media, but he showed a real connection to fans, and I'll always have good, fond memories of that for Lewis. But as a goalkeeper and on the pitch, Walker may be quieter, but he definitely leads by example by putting pressure off the back line and claiming crosses. And Matty Platt won about it in the week, talking about his frame. And when you look up and you see his big, tall keeper coming claiming crosses, you know that you're going to be a bit more safer and you're a bit more comfortable knowing that he's going to come claiming them. But I do feel like I'm not a goalkeeper. I'm never going to be a goalkeeper. So, you know, you can question what I'm talking about, a goalkeeper's positioning and claiming crosses. But for that unbelievable save that he did make, I've only seen it maybe 5 times. So I'm not sure I'm confident in claiming this, but I do just wonder if he could have come out and maybe claimed the initial cross, and you know maybe he would have stuck to his line there. But I can't complain at all because he made an unbelievable save by clawing it off the line and kept us in the game a number of times. And he's done that in the last few games and been a big part in our clean sheet at the back and building foundations there. And you know he's a fantastic goalkeeper, which is good to see. I mean, Kilmarnock fans, they loved him up there. So, you know, you talk about leading into what fans are saying when you sign a player. You know, we've had your other Sabres and your Taylors get absolutely hounded out the club, you know, saying, oh, what are you doing signing those clowns? And then you get Walker, and, you know, maybe we should have looked at that when we signed him. But, yeah, the throw-in as well. You know, I think he made a save and then he quickly throwed it out to Halliday. He played it to Odra, 2-touch, and then Kavanagh scores. You know, we lack that urgency under Lewis if you're going to compare that. And that's something that he didn't show in the first 5 games maybe, but recently he's been a lot more urgent with his kicking and distribution. That were, if he don't throw it out that quickly, we don't catch Sutton off guard and we don't get the goal to win the game.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I think it's something that Alexander mentioned in his post-match interview about having urgency and restarts in football are so important and wanting to play quickly, because that is how you catch teams when they're unorganised, when they're out of position slightly and everything. So that is going to be key for us as well between now and the remainder of the season. But we'll move on then to the final box of today's video. It is a yellow box for Tyreek Wright. Came on off the bench with about 20 minutes plus added time to go. And from what I've seen of Tyreek Wright so far, he's not getting involved too much. And I know it was only a brief cameo off the bench, but I feel like when you're on for 20 minutes plus added time, you're on for enough to make a positive impact. And the only real thing I can remember him doing is having that chance near the end where, granted, he nearly did convert from it. But apart from that, I thought defensively he wasn't really contributing much. I feel like he was leaving Rideout a little bit isolated at times, and Kelly was having to come over. And I just feel like Wright could have done more when you're a fresh substitute off the bench. Yes, he's just come back from injury and he doesn't want to get injured again. And he's just trying to be a bit more confident in his body because he's missed like the last month of football. So I can understand it from that point of view, but I feel like he could have maybe helped us out a little bit more defensively. The chance that he does have, though, I don't think we really get that far up the pitch if he doesn't have his natural pace, which is obviously a big positive for us. You know, when you've got good quality options on off the bench, good competition for places, you know, people like Harry Chapman, not even in the matchday squad yesterday, and I feel like Tyreek Wright, he just could have done a little bit more. I wouldn't really say I was disappointed with him. I just feel like he could have contributed more. And I feel like with the number of players that are in them positions, you've got to be contributing in the minutes that you get. Even if you get in 5-10 minutes, just put yourself about a bit, try and win a few headers, try and win a few tackles while still maintaining your discipline and keeping your position. And that chance at the end, you know, we had a number of players bursting forward. You know, Cook was up with him. I think Gilead was trying to get forward as well. Pretty sure Odwa was trying to get up in the box. And it's great to see that we had that attacking intent to go on and try and get the second goal, try and hit Sutton on the counter attack. But I feel like maybe again, he could have passed that. I know it's a decent save for the keeper, but it is at a pretty comfortable height for him. So I've gone with yellow for Tyreek Wright. I think that's 2 yellow boxes for him in 2 games. And fingers crossed, it's just more of him trying to grow into the team. Because there's a lot of new players since the last time that he was here. And, you know, fingers crossed, when he gets his starting opportunity, he goes on and takes that and kicks on with a real goal scoring form, hopefully.
I agree with that. I think, you know, there's a big difference in character, changing manager, changing players. I mean, if you count caretakers, we've had 4 managers since Mark Hughes is here. But yeah, I think he probably was playing with a degree of caution because he's coming back from injury and maybe lacking a bit of sharpness naturally. We're not really getting involved at Plymouth all too often, and I think that can impact your game, impact your touch. And he did have a good chance, didn't he, get towards the back and do a game, but defensively, I think we could have brought on better options to offer more defensively. When you look at Poynton, he'll chase down more than him. You know, I can't remember who else on the bench defensively, but I do feel like there were better options than Tyreek Wright, especially when you look at the fact that I think Alexander said around 10 days he'd be back for in his press conference. I didn't think he said at all that he'd be back for Saturday. So I was surprised when I saw him in the matchday squad. Never mind to see him come on around 60, 70 minutes. And I thought that was a brave call from Alexander, who's been talking about, you know, easing players back in and, you know, being more cautious with injuries, not letting them happen again. And he said that we're right, that he will be more cautious with him. So, yeah, I didn't understand why he got so many minutes in the first place. But then I wonder if it's him trying to make it clear that it's his signing, because obviously we signed him and he played almost instantly when we signed him at Salford. And then also today, as soon as he's back from injury, straight back in the team. You know, is he trying to prove a point that this is definitely my sign? It's not a PR stunt. Definitely not a PR stunt. You know, I haven't been told by Ryan Sparks you have to play him. You know, he might have given him a tap on his shoulder since he was back up in the stands. Get Tyreek on. You know, it's getting a bit nasty out there for me. So maybe that would be. But there's loads of options in that forward line. And to be fair, in the last couple of weeks, I probably forgot about Tyreek Wright a bit because, you know, there's Jake Young missing out, I've already said, but, you know, Jamie Walker's injured, Alex Patterson's injured, you know, Point and Wilson on the bench, and Chapman, you know, he had a shocking game against Wrexham, but he's still a quality player at this level. So, you know, Odra and Kavanagh fighting for the place at the minute, but who would you say are the 2 standout players that have to be playing week in, week out?
Do you mean in the positions like next to the main striker?
Yeah, so 10s, wingers.
Yeah. See, it's difficult because every player goes through good form, bad form. I feel like obviously it depends on the opposition largely as well. But based on currently, I think it has to be Adora and Kavanagh. You know, Adora's performing well, creating chances, scoring goals. Kavanagh scoring goals as well. And I feel like he wasn't really very effective yesterday, but scores a brilliant goal. And at this level, you need players who are going to score goals and change games. And that is what Callum Kavanagh provided for us yesterday. And I feel like Tyreek Wright needs to get that first goal just to kind of relieve a little bit of pressure off him. And I think Jake Young's in a very similar situation because their time at Bradford City so far has been very stop-start, both being in and out of the squad, on the bench, getting a start, all this sort of stuff. So fingers crossed both of them can get fit and keep themselves in a good level of performance and get themselves in the side. But at this moment in time, it is certainly very hard for them to do. But I would say at the moment, it has to be Adora and Kavanagh because they're both playing pretty well and scoring goals, creating chances for me.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to find that consistency in the side, and while still linking up well with Cook, you can't take them out the team. And it's for the players like your Tyreek Wright who are coming off the bench. You've got to be doing more than what he did on Saturday to ensure that he's in the manager's mind, so he can be starting games and not just coming on and playing cameos.
And it's very easy as well for a sub to come on with 10, 15, even 20 minutes to go plus added time and just kind of go through the motions, see the game out. When you're winning, there's no real pressure for you to go on and score. You're just on there for fresh legs, really, to see it out. But with the competition for places, you need to be coming on and having an impact on the game. I thought McDonald had a pretty decent impact when he came on. Obviously, we know about his fitness and all that sort of stuff, so it makes sense as to why he only really played the last 20 minutes. We want him fit and available for Wednesday, but I feel like he showed a real calmness once he came on. He kept the ball very tidy and all that sort of stuff. One final thing I want to speak about before we end today's video. I didn't want to give him a box because I feel like we had some more things to talk about with the players, but Mark Edwards, the referee, we've had him a number of times before. I'm pretty sure the first time I remember that name coming up was we played Forest Green at home a couple of years ago when we drew 1-1. I think Jake Young actually scored the goal for Forest Green, where there was about 2 or 3 fouls that should have been given to Bradford City and we should have had the free kick, and he gave advantage to Forest Green in that period, and they went on and scored from that attack. And ever since that moment, every time he's refed us, he's been so poor. But yesterday, it's not just his poor officiating in decision making, it's the way he speaks to players. He screams at them. Like, I think the Sutton left back was maybe 2 steps further forward than where he should be, and the referee's screaming at him, blowing his whistle, getting right close to him, and telling him you need to be there. And I don't think the 4th official particularly helped because he didn't even know how to work the subs board. I could see that 4th official not being in the Football League getting an officiating job anytime soon because he was absolutely shocked and he didn't really seem to know what he was doing. And even the referee was going over and being like, what the hell is going on here? But it's the way he conducts himself on the pitch. He blows his whistle so aggressively and he's saying, you take that free kick there. You got to roll that ball over 2 blades of grass further behind. And it's just I hate referees like that, and you can't even go over and speak to them without it being dissent and all that sort of stuff. And there was an incident as well with the Sutton goalkeeper where the linesman had put the flag up for offside and the Sutton goalkeeper has gone perfectly in line with him. If anything, he's a little bit behind him, puts the ball down. The referee's blowing the whistle, getting really aggressive with him. He's coming right over to him and telling him, no, you are back there. And the goalkeeper is telling him, look behind you at the linesman, open your eyes and look. It is clear that I'm in line. And the referee makes him move it back 2 or 3 meters for absolutely no reason. The goalkeeper completely loses his head and he gets booked for dissent, all because the referee doesn't want to accept that he's got it wrong. And the egotistical referees are the worst ones, and Mark Edwards he's up there. I think you mentioned it in your post-match reaction. He's up there with the Drysdales, the Kettles, the Boysons, all them clowns. No one ever wants to be officiated by them. We know the standard of officiating in the Football League and in football in general isn't particularly great, but people like Mark Edwards are the reason why it has such a bad reputation, because no one would want to be officiated by Mark Edwards. Every time the players look at who they've got as the referee, they're not happy to see Mark Edwards on there. That's what I would probably say. Or that's an assumption that I would probably have, to be honest.
I don't know. All these referees, every football fan, like you say, every coach, every manager, everyone in football knows these referees and knows about them and how dodgy they are, how poor they are consistently, how aggressive they are. Everyone knows who they are when you look at them. And yet they still get League One, League Two, and even higher, games. And you just wonder how, with your reputation, do you keep getting that? And just getting worse. You're talking about them every week. Referees just ruining football and ruining games, stop starting, making it all about them. And, and one thing, when I watch Premier League games compared to, lower level games and League Two, especially at Valley Parade, is Premier League games, referees barely talk to the players. They'll give them a quick word, and then even whilst they're still talking about them, the quick free kicks are getting taken. Here, the ref's got to be talking to them. They've got to slow the game down. Got to give them the yellow. And no quick free kicks are taken in League Two. Whereas in the Premier League, there's always quick free kicks. I don't understand that. It's almost as if the higher ups in the refereeing association are a bit lazy on them. Because there ain't as many eyes on them. Whereas in the Premier League, everything's got to be done correctly. Everything's got to be done, everything's got to be specific and down to the core detail of everything. So you can't be making, silly mistakes like not letting the game flow, because that'll be getting brought up. Whereas in League Two, it's a so stop-start and, you can't get any quick transitions. That's just one thing, and that's petty. But when you look at the whole refereeing, it's just ridiculous. And I actually thought, to be fair, Sutton could have had a penalty with Kelly. I haven't seen it back again still, but I thought that were dodgy. The Wimbledon, that I thought they could have had a penalty against Platt. So, it's not just us moaning about Bradford City, because we'll look at it and we'll be objective and we'll go, actually, the opposition probably have a right to moan about him as well. Wrexham referee, absolutely shocking. And we had Drysdale against Morecambe, and he was terrible. And they're just the standouts. Like I said, there's always niggly, dodgy little mistakes every weekend, and I'm getting sick of it, to be honest.
It's very easy to blame the referee when you're not winning football matches and you look for an excuse. But we've won our last 3 games, and I think in all them 3 games, referees have been really, really poor. I mean, Tuesday night, we were going around booking people for asking simple questions. It was just really, really baffling. And there was an incident in yesterday's game as well where I think Wright was about to come on, and there was a couple of set pieces, so we were trying to delay it. And then eventually McDonald was coming on, but he wasn't quite ready. But the referee had indicated like he was ready for the substitution. He came over and quite aggressively spoke to Chris Laketti, who was down on the touchline with obviously Alexander being up in the stands again. And he was like, well, what do you want us to do? Like, we're not going to bring a player on if he's not got his shorts on, for example, or he's got no shin pads in. If he's not ready to come on the pitch, why are you trying to make us do the substitution? And by the time we were ready, the fourth official couldn't even work out how to turn the additional time fourth official board on. Completely forgot what it's called, but he couldn't work out how to turn that on. And when they're all so wrong with the decisions that they're making. I mean, the line on the near side in the main stand, he looked about 95 years of age, and you could tell because he was constantly behind play. And yeah, really, really baffling from the officials. But we could rant and rave about how disappointing and pathetic a lot of the officials are at AFL level. So we'll leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for us. If you could try to 80 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are now on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already, with that post notification bell on, it's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below on our 6 talking points from today's video, and Mark Edwards as well. Go check out Korban's channel as well. The link to that, as always, is down in the description down below. Thank you all for watching. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Peace.